Hello and welcome to Think Up. My name is Debonitas. In today's program, I want to talk about a very big issue at the moment, Brexit. I have in the studio on the program with me today Sina Pedram. He's a political analyst and commentator. Welcome, Sina.
Thank you for having me.
Sina, in 1973, Britain joined what was then the EEC, which then became the EU. And then 43 years later, in 2016, there was a referendum and a slight majority of people decided it was time to leave the EU. What has happened?
I think people are voting always for better life. Referendums and any voting is always for people means, better life. What they are getting, however, is different issues. And obviously, if we have got a political agenda that it's not really created for or designed for people, of course, they are not going to have, anything from the voting boxes. What happened really, we have to look at, the background a little bit. In 2008, we had quite a big crisis, financial crisis, majority of the capitalist societies and from America to Europe. We had obviously before that a big program of the austerity, which were imposed to the people before and after 2008. And that was, a background that we could, see that people were really unhappy with the situation. The wages were frozen. They couldn't, see any sort of prosperity in future. And that was really, what made the people to have, the different opinions. However, what the establishment, or at least fraction of the establishment, put forward, it was Brexit as a political or economical agenda that it should or could, make the people's life better. Within possibly 2 years, people realized that that is not the case. Even I would say the day after referendum, they realized that, most of the things was based on the deception, lies, disinformation, and I don't think that, people or any kind of, sort of majority of people, they cannot get in line with any policies if they are based on deceptions. So yes.
One of the key issues about the whole Brexit debate was actually the issue of sovereignty, British sovereignty. But seeing that we live in a very globalized world, whatever Britain is going to do, they will have to make some deals, some agreements with its trading partners, whether that's the EU or other countries. So why not just stay in the EU anyway?
I think you are right. I mean, we are in globalized, world, and in my view, sovereignty is a biblical myth. It has got no root in obviously our earthly, life. Is just, a myth that political sort of streams, they are making it for people to tell them that if we are sovereign, and that doesn't mean anything, we are going to have better life. Sovereignty from whom, by whom, etc., etc. So you can talk about sovereignty for ages without, meaning anything good or anything better for people. In that case, if we are talking about, economical sovereignty, or we call it for protectionism, that is the possibly better name for that one. We are still coming to the very shallow arguments, because I don't really think that, any serious economist or serious, politician will sit down there and say that, we can live, we can sort of survive, or even, a capitalist system can survive without having, bounds and having, connections to other societies. It is kind of historically impossible situation. we can come back, and talk about protectionism not as a political, economical sort of agenda, but as a political sort of issue, so that to defer, people's attention from the real issues to obviously very deceptive issues. We can talk about that one later on.
So there are actually quite a few people who seem to have changed their mind. Just this week, there was a massive march in London. About 700,000 people were there. It was under the banner of People's Vote on like a say on the final deal. But it was also a bit of a no to Brexit march. People called for a second referendum. So we have all these, and there are quite a few people actually who have changed their mind, who voted leave, but now would probably like to remain. So we have all these people, and after the 2 years, what you described earlier. So what would be a best scenario for people so that we can guarantee their rights and that they have a much better future and a much better life than they have now? What would be a best scenario?
Right now, in my view, obviously staying is so status quo is the best sort of option for the people. However, if remaining means that, worse, situation for people, obviously, I don't advocate for that one, and I wouldn't actually advise any person to see that one as an option. However, we see, when we look at, the other choice, leave choice, we see that they are started, with austerity. They started to tell to people after the Brexit, we have to tighten the belts. We see that, all those cuts, all those, restrictions, even, restrictions in travel, visa restrictions. 3 million of people will stay, in UK with possibly not much, choices, or they have to go back to their, countries, from Poland to Romania, from Romania to Germany, etc., France, etc., etc. So I don't think that, the question for people will be again, very simple: leave or remain. This time, referendum has to have, meat on the bone. It has to have, some sort of better information. We stay with what conditions, we leave with what sort of conditions. And based on that one, people can make a better, basic, informed decision. I think Brexit and the referendum in 2016 was based on deception, based on, right-wing sort of policies, UKIP, Cameron, Osborne's, policies, and it was in tatters. Tory parties was in tatters. They couldn't, literally come with any answers for austerity. People, they really showed their dismay because of 7 years austerity programs that they were imposed on. So in my view, obviously this time any referendum should be based on better information. I'm not saying that EU project is better than the Brexit project. Obviously EU project, when it come in 1993, I believe, that was building up. That was based on building up another bloc, a capitalistic bloc, with competition with the China, America, and that sort of United States or other blocs. So I'm not advocating that what happens in EU. Obviously, same problems, austerity problems in EU, different kind of growth in EU. We can talk about, very, cuts, welfare cuts, etc. in majority of the, EU countries. So EU is not the paradise. Staying there is not, giving you any promises either. But the fact is, in comparison, Brexit is, will worsen the scenarios, will worsen the situation for people. And as I said, based on what they are started, that promising, people or telling to people that after Brexit it's going to be hard Brexit, it will be austerities, it will be, cuts, etc. I don't think that, that is the option for people. People's option yesterday, it was very clear. We will remain European, because we don't see the Brexit as an option or as a sort of choice, or as an answer for the problems that we are right now facing.
Sina, Pedram, thank you very much for being on the program.
Thank you very much.
This was Think Up on the topic of Brexit. Until next time, goodbye.